Hello and welcome to Flashback Generations.
Hi.
We are reviewing our fourth Discworld game. It's an abstract one, Clacks.
What is it?
Clacks is a brain teaser or puzzle type game in which there's various modes of competitive and cooperative and solo play. The objective is to spell out letters using the clack towers from the Discworld novel Going Postal.
What do you get?
Okay, with this game you get a nice board, standard card structure. You get a load of meeple type things. There's some meeples. There's some beacon meeples. The main driver of the game are these wooden squares which have a off and an on-side sticker on them. So these can be either off or on. So you get those. You get several decks, small decks of cards, one big deck of cards which are the words you're trying to form on the light. So this is basically a semaphore style mechanism. And a few bits and bobs like handy alphabet, that's the Clacks alphabet.
Yeah, the cards tell you the same thing.
Some counters and an egg timer. I think it's the first time I've seen one of those in one of the games we reviewed.
And of course you get all the clues basically that change.
They're your actions that you can do.
Yeah. Sure, we may as well actually go into the rules of how to play.
And a mention of the cover of the instruction manual, which is like a Haynes manual to the Clacks exchange. Really nice.
How does it work?
This game plays, as I mentioned earlier, it's a puzzle game. So what will happen is the cooperative game and the competitive game play slightly different, but ultimately you're going to be getting these jack cards, which are
that's jacquard.
Jacquard.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's just people will not know what you said then unless they're well down on the floor.
Fair enough. But you get these, and it'll tell you two, or it'll tell you a number, and it'll give you lights you can activate and deactivate.
The basic tenet is you're trying to spell a word, maybe together, maybe before, maybe competitively. And the way you do it is there's any block of 6 lights basically must be reconfigured to make the letter, and then the letter is beamed off and you completed that letter. And you do that via these, which let you move, swap or switch on off that pattern of lights or that pattern of lights, but it's not optional. If you play that, you've got to switch all those lights on and off.
What I would advise is if you we're not actually doing a playthrough of the game, but there is several good YouTube videos for doing that. We're just doing an overview of is it any good kind of thing, but quite quick. But watching some of the half-hour reviews of people playing through the game is a good way to actually get a good solid grounding in it. It's not overly complex, but there is quite a lot of little things to kind of get a grasp of before you actually play it. Honestly, I think that this game could quite transfer into like a computer game or a computer app quite well. It feels a bit like a mobile game nearly.
Yeah, it would probably have to. I mean, the time is optional. Increases the pressure as you're trying to figure out how do I make that letter with what's there versus what I've got to play.
Yeah,
that's the trick.
Well, and the thing that makes it not just the same game every time as well is you've got all these operational manuals and technical faults and cards that can actually combat. You throw cards to put a spanner in the works to other players, but these are random effects. They might hinder or help you. So it's very depending on how much of a risk you need to take at the time. It is quite a time-based game, I suppose. That seems to be the main thing that the developers had in mind for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing competitively, then one pressure you can put on your opponent is the fact that everybody's only got that much time to do their move. But we've only played one game co-op, and you're against a little meeple postman who's racing along, carrying his letter, and you've got to sort of beam the letters out.
He looks like an orc.
I think he probably was an orc in another game, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, but he's not. The name's gone. He's not the main guy. Moist van Lipwig.
Yeah.
Who it should be, who you're racing against.
That's right, yeah. And in the book, he's the good guy, isn't he? He's the hero.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, and in this one, he's the enemy, sort of.
So yeah, is it any good? You know.
Yeah. We played one game, and you were warning me that this is going to wreck your head, and it did a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the getting the hang of this. It's like forming a letter. You just got to realise it's any 246 like that. 246, 246. That's your letter grid. It doesn't matter. Well, in the game we played.
It's interesting because then it turns into, because I was opposite Pete, I would be looking at the board completely flip side to him.
Yeah.
So the more players you have, the more flip side that the board gets for every player.
We'll be interfering with each other's plans, won't we?
Yeah, there's this in the cooperative. There was a few turns where I was like, "Listen, just take a hit, take a penalty hit, because I can do that word quite easily." So
I can set him up for his turn if I can't do it on my turn, you know.
But that's why this game actually works very well as a solo game, because you know it is essentially a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's, you could treat this like you're playing Sudoku or something.
Yeah, it's that sort of area, isn't it? It's a puzzler, a spatial puzzler.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not a hardcore gamer's game, but it's certainly.
I've not seen anything like it, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you know what?
It's probably based on something ancient and Chinese, right at its root, you know.
My little gripe with it is, I think Discworld fans might be a little bit let down that there isn't more Discworld influence in it. You know, as much as the whole thing is.
They put a lot of that in the cards, so like the penalties have a theme round them, like your clock tower's stuck and it's got, you know, it's a fatal error sort of thing. There's little stories on the cards, isn't there?
Yes, yeah. But you know, even when you're reading the rule book, I think there's like it felt like now and then they went, oh yeah, something to do with Discworld, but it's like an afterthought nearly. Although I do believe that they made the game based on the book, but it just turned into a series of rules, and the rule book is honestly quite boring to read. I go and watch a YouTube video first.
The covers the warning, you know. That's the funniest bit of the book rule book, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
But yeah, it tells you everything you need to know. I've not read it yet, but I've read bits, and it's
quite dull.
It's a little in depth, yeah, but it needs to be. You know,
yeah.
I think it's because of the multiple modes, isn't it? And it's like the difference between this mode is optional rules, that junior mode, this. You know.
I'll give it this. I think this is actually very female friendly. This game, especially women Discworld fans. I think that because A, it's got a theme to it, and B, the cooperative nature and just puzzle. Like in my understanding of the women folk, they love a good puzzle, you know, and I think they're more interested than war, like the war theme, which we often go into. So you know, I know that Lindsay would be probably a lot more keen to play this than Warhammer.
Good night.
Okay, well, yeah. On that note, I guess we'll see you next time for another episode.
Bye.
See you later.